Hi friends, my name is Barrodante. Let's test Clip Studio Paint Pro. So, here's the beast. If you ever worked with Clip Studio Paint, this is probably not what you were expecting to see. And so did I. Yesterday I tried installing this onto my desktop and it looked very different. Apparently the whole interface changes when you're using the touch screen. I'm not sure if it's actually changing, it's probably kind of like the same. It's just a lot bigger. And I really never understood why would you do that. I mean, I don't think that anybody actually taps on the interface in painting programs. You usually use your pen. The only way I use touch is to zoom and rotate and whatnot. So there's that. I didn't touch any of it yet. This is what it looks like as it just opened up. I took a quick look into preferences and I found this thing. Adjust an interface to suit touch operations. And 3 scaling modes. Default. Let's check what they look like. Please don't tell me I have to restart the program. Apparently I do. So here we go. This is the interface that is a lot closer to what I've seen on my desktop. So in this episode, it's not going to be like an actual full review of the program, obviously. This is just a first view. So you guys tell me how stupid I am about using the program in general. Okay, some basic settings. I figured out yesterday we can use this eyeball symbol to put any settings into this quick access panel for anything we want. So that's a pretty cool way to organize the quick access like that. So we'll get to the whole brush engine in a minute. Now let's do one final thing that I so crave to do, and that is this. Oh yes, and darker, yes. Amazing. Now it feels like 2016. Oh, here we go. There's actually a pretty obvious and solid setting for switching tools temporarily. This is a really cool feature I like in Photoshop, which is whenever we use like a brush and then we hold E, we use eraser, then we release E, and we're back to brush again. So that's pretty cool. Now, this thing, removing top bars, really great. Always a fan of removing extra stuff when working. Timeline, I don't think we're gonna use that, because I don't think we're gonna be animating today. So there's that. I noticed all the programs lost the ability to hide the taskbar of Windows in Fullscreen Mode. Like, there's no actual Fullscreen Mode anymore. Even Photoshop stopped doing that with Windows 10 Anniversary update. I think that has something to do with that. Same as Krita. Krita doesn't have the actual full screen mode. Actually, Krita can do that now. In the newest update, 3.1, Krita got back that feature. It was only absent in 3.0. I suspect that Windows 10 Anniversary update requires some kind of a special command to go in full screen, so that's why it kind of requires an update for all this software. Might be wrong, and quite frankly, I don't care. And here we have Clip Studio Paint also, avoiding that. Okay, so we have the 600 by 800 resolution of the document. Let's change that probably. Apparently no hotkeys for these. That's weird. So let's go like 5K. Is there a way to quickly reset the view with a hotkey or with touch? In Photoshop, it's just double tap with 2 fingers. In this case, double tap doesn't really reset anything. So we can double click the hand tool, so that works. Reset rotate is here at the bottom thing, and also the 100% pixel size button is here, but no fit to screen. I don't know, maybe it's somewhere in the hotkeys. I really like how Clip Studio Paint has the Alt key assigned to the right click of the pen or a mouse. So we can grab color with color picker by clicking the right mouse button. That's exactly how I do it in Photoshop. I actually assign Alt click to the right button. Exactly the same way, like I don't even have to actually click with the nib of the pen. I just hover, I right click, and I grab the color right away. Really like that. So let's take a look at some brush tools now. We can see that this basic brush that was chosen by default already has the blending mode applied to it, which is kind of cool. Everything works really fast. even with big brushes, although the whole blending thing kind of takes a lot of speed away. So this is the speed of pretty basic brush with round template, which is supposed to be like optimized, and the step, or the gap as it's called in Clip Studio Paint, is really big. We can see a lot of steps, yet the strokes are pretty slow. But if we go into settings and into ink and turn off the mixed ground color, I actually want to put it around here. Oh, it's still kind of slow. Well, on desktop it was faster, but the blending one was still slow. So here's the speed of this thing. I hope it's capturing it without a lag, because this right now is pretty fast. And I mean, don't forget, this is a 5K document, so this is a pretty big brush. Like, this is the real size of the stroke. Not actually real, by the way. I don't know why. I think the Clip Studio Paint really uses the DPI of the document to scale it properly on the screen, I guess. So right now we're actually not at the 100% scale, but at 200. It doesn't really show the document 1-to-1 pixel. Like, the resolution of everything is sharp, like in the viewport. Right now we're using all of the pixels of my Ultra HD monitor. But 100% is actually a bit blurry because it's actually 200%. That's just a little thing that might affect the workflow with the whole zooming. I'm pretty sure you can just choose the like 300 DPI on the document and you won't have any problems with that. So in this trial version, I won't be able to save documents, I won't be able to copy and paste. Like if I select all and press Ctrl+C, it says I'm not allowed to do that. Well, makes sense, because I would be able to export anything I do in the program and then continue in the new session without saving the document. And I don't think that other than that, anything is actually limited, not even in time. Like, we can use this trial as long as we want, it's just that we won't be able to actually save the work. So I'm guessing whatever we do today, we better finish it, or not really even start. I don't think we're gonna be actually painting. But yeah, let's take a look at the brush engine, which is probably the most interesting part, aside from the layers and such, so let's cover some basics. Okay, brush size. Not a lot of stuff to cover here, right? The blending is really good, I like it. Ink. Ink is about all kinds of color deviations, I suppose, if you want to call it that way. So opacity is for transparency of the stroke in general. And I was having a hard time finding where's the actual analogy of flow in Photoshop, meaning the transparency of each copy of the pattern of the brush. And I actually found it in brush tip. It's actually called brush density. That's what flow is. And I was thinking that brush density would mean the step. But step is actually called gap, which is in stroke. So that was fun times, discovering all the new names. So anyway, back to ink, we have opacity, which is best to be just controlled by the pressure, I guess. But I don't seem to be able to do that. This button means set to change parameter by pen pressure or velocity of tablet. And next to opacity, there's no button like that. You can't control opacity of the stroke with the pen pressure, that's pretty odd. I mean, that's one thing I use a lot lately. So the mixed ground color, the blending mode, has quite a few of cool parameters, and if you move all of them to 0, you really get just a perfect blender that blends all the colors without any direction applied. But if you want some stretching, this thing will allow to drag the color with the stroke. Without the stretch, it just removes all the details inside of the stroke, which is what a basic blender is. So I personally only find use in actual, like, pure blender or no blending at all. Like mixing the color of the stroke with blended color with the canvas. I don't know. It's really natural and all cool, but for actual achievement of some results, I probably wouldn't use it. It would be only an obstacle. Maybe not. Maybe for background painting, for landscape stuff, it would work. So anti-aliasing affects the speed of the stroke pretty heavily. Like, this is basically no anti-aliasing, and this is the maximum one. I don't really see the difference at this point with this kind of template being used, so let's turn it off. So direction is a rotation. Also, for some reason, took me a bit longer than it should have been to realize what it is. Oh boy, this is really horrible. So I applied affecting the direction of the brush with the direction of the pen, meaning the whole tilting thing. And it works, but the preview of the brush keeps being vertical. This is a nightmare. And I mean, I always use all of my brushes with tilting at all times. I don't have a single non-tilting brush. This is gonna be a problem. I wonder if you can turn this off. I don't know yet. You fronts, please tell me if you have any idea. So there's that. For now, only problem I have is the way the brush preview is being visualized. Like, it really doesn't have any preview on what kind of template you're using whatsoever. I have a feeling it might be available somewhere to turn it on, but I don't know. So brush density is the flow. And there's this option to adjust brush density by gap, meaning the smaller the step between the patterns in the stroke, the smaller this brush density or opacity will be, so it kind of compensates that. But at the same time, this is the highest level of opacity we can get with this mode on. Like, this is 100% right now, and it's really transparent. What if I wanted to be more opaque, yet still following the whole adjustment to the density gap and all? So, kind of can't use it really, because that's really too transparent. Oh yeah, the shift-click mode is really a lot like in Photoshop, only it has the real-time preview. So we can draw straight lines like this, but no actual benefits from what Photoshop has. As far as we go with just shift-clicking, I don't know if there's more to this. But Krita definitely does this better with their V-click, which you can totally change to shift-click, by the way. So far the rendering of brushstrokes works fast enough, yet Photoshop still does it better for me. I mean, on this same device, the Companion 2, Photoshop works faster. I mean, Photoshop has a bunch of modes to adjust under the hood for the performance, and there's nothing like that I found in Clip Studio Paint. So spraying effect has a pretty cool automatic feature. Again, it's about adjusting the size. So you can see it doesn't change the size of the stroke when it's spraying, but it adjusts the size of the clones to fit inside of the stroke of its initial size. That's kind of convenient, I must say. Spray deviation. Oh. Okay, so next to the maximum is kind of a generic soft kind of spraying, and everything else is pretty weird. Whoa, this is really cool actually, if you can just use your strokes to create this kind of effect. I feel like I could find some cool use of this. So I would say this is the generic kind of spray mode. This works way more convenient than in Photoshop. Like, I would actually use the spray a lot more here, I think. Well, I mean, this kind of effect is actually pretty common in manga, I guess. So that makes sense. So spraying I definitely love. Now, the gap thing was kinda confusing for me. By default, we have pretty noticeable, nasty kind of gap here. You can see the whole stitches everywhere. But it has like the narrow step preset applied to it. And I thought, that is weird, because all the other ones are even wider. But the point is that the first one, the fixed one, this is where you can really adjust stuff to be super dense, to have the freedom of using any kind of gap. And that's what you want to do, I suppose. So we can use the pen pressure for density, but I actually don't see any change in that. Is it actually turned on? Okay, we have some kind of cool curve tool for that. Oh, minimum value is 50. Yeah, we really want to have 0 here. Yeah, okay, this is cool. And a pretty complex tool set for the dependencies of this. So it becomes more transparent in the middle pressure. This is kind of cool. I bet we can just invert it even. This is something that Photoshop really lacks. the ability to invert all these dependencies. Yeah, as stronger I press, the more invisible it becomes. That's the kind of thing you might want to use when you are simulating the spraying kind of tool. Like when it's just a soft brush, but you want it to be the stronger you press, the smaller the radius, because you're kind of like moving your spray can closer to the surface. So it kind of feels right to do that. Yet the opacity should become a lot more dense when you go closer and a lot less dense when you go far away. That's something you can't set up in Photoshop at all. And in here, obviously, it's possible to do. Kinda cool. Let's actually do that. Let's choose the brush tip of some kind of circle, but oh yeah, we have hardness right here. There we go. So here we have this soft thing. Why are you so slow though? Maybe it's because of the recording, because it's not exactly stable on the leg. Anyway, so let's adjust the size of the brush to be the opposite. So like this, when I press very softly, it's a big radius, and as I go harder, it becomes smaller and more opaque. This is a weird feeling. I actually never experienced this kind of control of the brush stroke. I'm not sure actually, maybe it's possible to do that in Krita too. Krita 3 too. Oh yeah, this is so weird. Completely disappearing into a spike. I feel like if I would spend like a couple of years working with this, I would find really cool ways to apply all these tools. Now, one thing that's really important for me personally is using textures on the brushes. So let's make some kind of brush to use with texture. Wow, it's really lagging badly, I don't know why. But that wasn't the case before, so I don't think that's the program's fault. Even with super small density, it's still lagging, and this brush size is really small too. So this kind of brush we have, and let's see. So we look through the stroke. Yeah, by the way, let's finish the stroke thing. What do we have here? Continuous spraying. Oh yeah, this is the build-up mode from Photoshop. Oh, it's super fast when I don't change a lot of pixels on the canvas. But if I do a stroke, it's really struggling with the update. Oh, this is interesting. Mix brush tips with darken. This is cool. I don't know why it's cool, but it definitely is cool. I think this would be a really helpful thing to work with. This creates this effect. This turns the dependency of the brush density into dependency of brush opacity, meaning the whole absence of dependency from pen pressure for the opacity, like we can choose it, it's totally being worked around with the brush density dependent from pen pressure, with this special trick turned on, the mix brush tips with darken. This is literally what the opacity would look like. Well, almost. It feels a little bit different, but maybe it's just because of this brush is so soft and all. Okay, let's keep it on because I like this kind of mode when it looks like it's an opacity. So, texture. Let's see, which one do I like? I guess this one is called Bird's Eye Maple. Whatever, man. Okay, this is not super cool so far by default. Apply by each plot. I assume that's each copy of the pattern of the brush. Didn't really change much. Kind of close to what Photoshop does, but again, same as with Krita, we have not too many types of methods of applying the texture. Normal? How is it normal? Multiply, gross, subtract. Also kinda gross. Compare. Wow, I need time to figure out the nature of each one of these because they are not exactly the kind of modes that Photoshop has. Whoa. We should really choose a different texture. This is gross. Canvas. Okay, let's do that. Only make it a bit bigger so it would look kind of moist. Scale. Okay, yeah. Wow, that's slow. I don't know, I'm gonna be ignoring the whole performance right now, because it doesn't feel exactly natural. Oh cool, we can actually rotate the texture. I don't think we can do that in Photoshop. One thing I would love to have here, and that's something that's missing in Photoshop as well, to kind of reposition randomly the texture with each new stroke. Like as I start the stroke, the texture will be a bit displaced somehow. So I would be able to like not paint over the same pattern again and again, but actually like cover the old holes with the new position of the texture at each time. That's what Krita actually has, that mode, and that's really cool. I never thought any program would have that. So outline, this is the mode that just changes the whole transparency border of the stroke, but doesn't really affect it inside. So that's kind of cool. This looks the closest to what an actual canvas would do to a stroke of paint, I guess. I mean, normal is also okay, but it's really subtle. So yeah, I'm gonna say this is really close to Photoshop overall, but plus blending mode. I don't really see all that much of a difference in everything. Oh yeah, there's actually a pretty cool mode here that makes the brush tip not just applied right next to another, but actually continue one another. That's really cool. You can create interesting decorative things, but in actual like traditional painting, the way we usually paint, again, probably not too much help from this. So yeah, this is where you can turn on this mode. In stroke, there's ribbon effect. It's called a ribbon effect. As you see, if I turn it off, it just applies this kind of shape in a classical way, the way all the brushes work. And ribbon mode, and you can choose the way it will work. One copy continues the other one, or it mirrors or stretches through the whole stroke, I guess. No, not really. What does it mean then? Not repeat. I'm pretty sure I'm looking at a repeating thing. I don't know. Random. It's still repeating it the same way. I don't know. Oh, wow. You can actually apply full color kind of patterns for the brush, not just black and white stuff. How is that supposed to work? Like, if it's colorful, I can't actually use the color then, right? Also, this, I assume it's not the way it's supposed to be used, this pattern. So we should rotate it first. Direction, yes. 90 degrees we need. Yeah, there we go. Cool. Yeah, this is really cool. So it looks kind of red, but I think it's just red, right? Yeah, it's not because I chose the red color. I wonder if there's a control that I can actually change the tint of the colorful pattern with the color I choose. That would be really cool. By the way, the speed of this brush is insane. There was something wrong that I did with the settings of that previous brush, I guess. Or it doesn't really handle well the soft strokes, maybe, I don't know. Let's apply this one. No, right now it's also fast. I was probably really stupid at a certain point and I did something really horrible to the settings. Because right now it's a decent, fast, soft brush. Yeah, even a pretty big size is working the same way Photoshop does. So yeah, these are really cool, actually usable, interesting settings for the brush. I like it. Oh yeah, actually one thing, I'm not sure if that's real, but I once saw like a short video of someone using Clip Studio Paint, and this is one I want to try. Let's see what kind of brush I have. So what I wanted to try is the ability of filling the color as if it's a vector shape, but when it's totally not a vector. So bucket tool. Oh, that's not a tool. Okay. This is a bucket tool. Okay, now let's choose a different color and try to fill in. Okay, this looks gross, but maybe there's a way to apply it differently. Close gap a lot. Oh, close gap, I see what you mean. Yeah, like this gap. Let's not, because we don't really have gaps when we want to fill in, but that's a pretty cool feature to have. Whoa. So there we go, it's kind of growing the filling. I wonder if I can use it in a separate layer. That would be actually awesome. Like this. Nope, it's trying to fill in the whole thing. There should be somewhere an option to use all the layers for analyzing the area that you are filling in. Multiple referring. All layers, there we go. It's a natural gift of finding things in the interfaces, I mean, come on. Yeah, you see how awesome this is? Imagine having a sketch in a separate layer and being able to so quickly just fill in everything inside of it. And you can really avoid any gaps whatsoever. This is such a time saver, it's insane. Wow, I'm really in love with this feature. I'm glad I accidentally saw it somewhere and I really decided to try it here. And being able to close gaps, if your sketch is more loose and has some kind of open areas, you can really just jam that to the maximum and fill in anyway. It might be really cool if the sketch is really clean, it will be really usable. What else is in here? Reference layer. Oh, so this means not all the layers, but just the sketch layer will be used for that. But how do we make you... This is the reference layer, okay. So we apply this mode of reference layer like a beacon. And now we move back to our fill in layer. And we fill in just this layer. This is so cool. Selected layer. Oh, there we go. This one is where we're gonna be painting. And this one has the symbol of check on it. So this is the selected layer, I guess. This is so cool, we can actually work and change two layers selected at the same time. Photoshop would just show me a message about the error, like you can't do that. It's so weird, I was thinking that I would have the best time playing with the brush engine again, but no, this kind of stuff is a lot more fun. Like, it's actually something that I was missing everywhere else, so that's why it's so cool, I guess. Control E merges two layers together, same as in Photoshop. Also, Control D deselects everything, like removes any selections. Also the same way Photoshop works. I really can appreciate when developers of any software don't go inventing new hotkeys for no reason at all and actually follow the standard of some sort. Okay, so for now I'm really enjoying this. We'll continue in the next episode. We'll probably try to paint some kind of portrait, something quick that we can do in one session, because after that we'll lose it. But first, I really want to hear what you fronts have to say, what I've missed, what cool features are in here that I haven't actually checked out yet, something really cool and special about Clip Studio Paint. Like the bucket tool. That is so cool! So yeah, for now I'm really into this program. It's really well done, it's stable, and it's fast enough. And it has more features than Photoshop. I wonder how all these rulers work as well, because there's a bunch of stuff about it. But for now I can only see the basic stuff with the shift click. So yeah, tell me what you think. And I thank you for watching if you did, I guess you did if you're here. Leave a like and subscribe, tell a friend. Praise the bucket. Do whatever you want. And I will see you in the next one. Bye. Well, I mean, it is kinda nice to touch the interface, but I really don't think I'll ever do that.